Have you ever felt like you're standing completely alone in the middle of a vast forest and suddenly the wind around you just stops? You know there isn't another human being beside you, yet the hairs on the back of your neck stand up because you feel like someone or something is staring right at you from behind the trees. You want to run, but your legs won't move. At that exact moment, a sound floats out from the deep woods, a sound that isn't an animal, but isn't quite human either. Every year, thousands of people visit the national parks spread across thousands of acres in America, and many of them never return. Where do they go? Does the earth swallow them up? Or does the sky snatch them away? Or is there some primal darkness hiding behind this beautiful nature that is beyond our imagination? In today's episode, I am going to tell you about the 5 most mysterious and terrifying disappearance cases in the history of American national parks. After hearing these, you might never find the courage to go into the woods alone again. However, before we dive into the main stories, a small request. If you love getting lost in the world of mystery, thrills, and horror, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon right now, because we have many more terrifying true stories coming up that will ruin your sleep at night. So go ahead, turn off the lights, and put your headphones on, because the fear is about to begin. Chapter 1: The Smoky Mountain Mystery. Let's start the first incident with the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The year was 1969, a bright afternoon in June. A 7-year-old boy named Dennis Martin went camping with his parents and older brother to celebrate Father's Day. The location was Spence Field, an incredibly beautiful place surrounded by green grass and large trees. In the afternoon, the adults were chatting while the kids were playing. Dennis and his brothers decided they would surprise the adults. According to their plan, they hid behind different bushes in separate directions so they could jump out and scare the adults when they got close. Dennis's father, Carl Martin, watched from a distance as his son, wearing a red shirt, walked toward a bush. Everything was fine. The other kids jumped out of the bushes on time, scaring the adults, and everyone laughed. But Dennis didn't come out. Carl thought Dennis was just hiding a bit longer to make the joke better. He called out, "Dennis, come on, the game is over." But there was no answer. Nothing could be heard except the sound of the wind. Only 3 or 4 minutes had passed. Carl and his wife ran toward the bush where Dennis was last seen, but there was no one there. Just soft soil, yet no footprints, no signs of a struggle. It was as if the boy had vanished into thin air. A massive police force was deployed. Green Beret commandos searched the jungle thoroughly. That very evening, on the other side of the forest, a tourist couple claimed they heard a bone-chilling scream coming from the deep woods. The scream didn't sound like a normal child crying. Rather, it sounded like a wild beast was tearing someone apart. But the strange thing was, the distance from where Dennis disappeared to that spot was vast. It was impossible for a human to reach there in such a short time. Dennis Martin was never found again. All that remains is that terrifying scream and a pile of unanswered questions. Chapter 2: Yosemite's Invisible Staircase. Now, let's go to California's Yosemite National Park. The events here are even stranger. A 14-year-old girl named Stacy Aris went there for a trip with her father. It was 1981. They had hiked up to the Sunrise High Sierra camp. When the group reached the camp, Stacy said she wanted to take some photos. There was a lake very close to the camp. The lake was so close that people talking at the camp could be heard from there. Stacy's father gave her permission, but told her not to go too far. A 77-year-old guide from the group went part of the way with Stacy. Then he sat on a rock to rest and told Stacy, "You go take pictures and come back. I'm right here." The guide saw with his own eyes as Stacy, camera in hand, walked behind a cluster of trees. The spot was at most 100 feet away. But 5 minutes passed and Stacy didn't return. The guide thought the girl might have gotten busy taking photos. He called out, "Stacy!" No response. The guide got up and went there. The place was completely empty. A 14-year-old girl vanished in the blink of an eye in broad daylight. Later, an extensive search was conducted. But the astonishing thing is that nothing was found except the lens cap of Stacy's camera. No piece of clothing, no blood stains. The most terrifying part is that experienced rangers in the area said that sometimes a specific silence descends upon certain parts of this forest, what they call a silence zone, where birds don't sing and the wind doesn't blow. Did Stacy stumble into a pocket like that, one separate from our reality? To this day, that question remains unanswered. Chapter 3. The Snowman of Mount Rainier. The third story will make your blood run cold. This happened at Washington's Mount Rainier National Park. Jim Carter, an experienced skier, went up the mountain with his friends. Jim was extremely skilled and brave. On that day in 1950, Jim had skied a bit ahead of his group to take photos. His friends could see him. Jim was skiing down an ice slope. Suddenly, his friends saw Jim go toward a spot where there was a sheer cliff wall. But Jim was not seen again. His friends thought he might have gone behind a rock. But when they reached the spot, Jim wasn't there. The tracks of Jim skiing on the snow were clear. But those tracks suddenly just ended. It was as if a giant hand had come down from the sky and plucked Jim up. Even scarier, Jim's ski box was found in a place where it is impossible for a human to reach. When the search team went to look for Jim, they encountered strange experiences. They claimed that at night, they could hear sounds that sounded like human voices, but the language was unknown, as if someone was calling them by name but with the wrong pronunciation. In missing 411 cases, this mimicry or imitation factor comes up repeatedly. Is there something in the deep woods that mimics our voices to lure us into a trap? Jim's body was never found. Chapter 4. The Curse of Crater Lake. Oregon's Crater Lake National Park. The place is as mysterious as it is beautiful. Charles McCullough, a young photographer, went missing here in 1975. He went alone in the winter to take photos. He had told his friends he would be back within 2 days, but he never returned. The FBI and park rangers searched for him together, but in that vast park covered in a sheet of snow, no trace of him was found. The event took a strange turn exactly 1 year later. In the spring, after the snow had melted, 2 hikers found Charles's backpack in a very remote part of the forest. His camera was inside the backpack, but where was Charles? Going a little further, what they saw terrified them to the core. Inside Charles's pants and boots were his leg bones, but the rest of his body, meaning from the waist up, was nowhere to be found. And the most unbelievable thing was that his jeans were unbuttoned and his shoes were arranged very neatly. If a wild animal had attacked, the clothes should have been torn and the bones scattered. But here it looked like Charles had taken off his pants and shoes himself, sat there and then vanished into the wind. Rangers still haven't been able to explain how a man walked through 12 feet of deep snow to reach that inaccessible place, or why he would take off his shoes and arrange them. Did Charles see something before he died that drove him insane? Chapter 5: The Disappearance of Polly Melton. The final incident takes us back to the notorious Great Smoky Mountains. Polly Melton was an experienced hiker. On September 25, 1981, she went out for an afternoon walk. She was with two of her friends, but Polly walked a bit fast, so she had moved slightly ahead of her friends. Her friends could see her. Polly turned a bend in the trail. Her friends turned that same bend exactly 1 minute later, but Polly was not there. There was no narrow path ahead where Polly could have hidden. On one side of the trail was a steep cliff, and on the other, a deep gorge. Her friends thought Polly might be joking. They started calling her name, but other than the familiar silence of the forest, no answer came. The strangest thing about Polly Melton's disappearance was the only clue she left behind. A few days later, searchers found Polly Melton's raincoat on a tree stump. The raincoat was folded very neatly, as if someone had placed it there with care. But the weather was freezing. In such bone-chilling cold, why would anyone take off their jacket and fold it? According to Missing 411 researcher David Politis, when hypothermia sets in, people feel hot and tear their clothes off. But Polly Melton's jacket wasn't lying around randomly, it was arranged. And her body? That was never found. Locals say there are caves deep in the Smoky Mountains where if a person enters, they can never come out. Or maybe Polly saw something that left her with no way to escape. These 5 incidents are just a few among thousands of missing 411 cases. There are some strange similarities in these events. Did you notice? Bad weather, a sudden silence falling, dogs failing to track scents, and finally, finding the missing person's clothes or shoes in bizarre conditions. Millions of people visit American national parks every year. We go to see the beauty of nature. But we forget that nature is not always our friend. The forest has rules that we city people do not understand. The next time you go wandering in a forest or on a mountain and suddenly notice that the birds have stopped singing and the wind has stalled, remember, you might not be alone. From behind the trees or from a crack in the rocks, ancient eyes might be watching you, waiting for you to be just a little bit careless. And who knows, maybe the next missing person report will be about you. How did you like today's stories? Don't forget to let us know in the comments. And has anything supernatural ever happened to you? Tell us that too. See you in the next video with more terrifying true stories. Until then, stay safe, because the darkness is very close to you.